Hello and welcome to Q's News. Today we are going to talk about the escalating Iran-Pakistan tensions. In fact, which have been sort of unprecedented in the manner that Iran employed drones to attack targets within Pakistani territory, killing two young lives and injuring quite a few people on the Balochistan-Iran border. And Pakistan's Foreign Office has responded with a very stern press release. Also, the Iranian authorities have given some sort of very vaguely worded explanations, but in general, Iran claims that it has targeted the hideouts of Jaish-e-Adl, a militant organization which has found refuge allegedly in Pakistan and which carries out attacks on Iranian soldiers and targets within Iranian territory. I'm joined by Dr. Ayesha Siddiqa, who is a well-known defense and security expert from Pakistan, currently based in London. And Dr. Ayesha, welcome. And let's begin. What do you make of this completely out of the blue, surprising attack that Iran launched on Pakistan?
I was in the past few days a bit worried in what's happening because there is greater pressure building up on Iran, and it was very obvious that as the pressure builds up and as attacks happen in Iran, there will be a response. And my fear was that South Asia may get sucked into it.
Right.
Now, we are standing at the moment, and I think it's a very tense situation, especially because there were several attacks which Iran launched, one in Iraq, another in, there was another place, but a third one. So there's a third one. There are three attacks which happened. But out of that, one was in Pakistan, in Panjgur, in Balochistan. Extremely worrying. And their claim is that they were Jaish-e-Adl. Of course, Jaish-e-Adl, it's not something new. Jaish-e-Adl has been around in Pakistan. But what the claim is that the attack which happened in Kerman, Iran, people who were involved, terrorists that were involved in that attack, had traveled from Afghanistan and were in Panjgur, and that's where the attack happened.
This attack happened. Right. So you have seen Pakistan's response. Obviously, the Foreign Office has given a very strong statement, but there is also an inherent exercise of restraint. Although there are many voices in Pakistan, especially the media, some elements are saying we must give Iran a fit reply, we must do this, our army is very strong. What do you think that Foreign Office's response is adequate, or is it the right response, or Pakistan should show some military sort of might that it has?
Well, the question which came to my mind was that why wasn't, it wasn't just missiles fired from Iran, there were drones which came. And so why weren't we watching our border? And the answer I get is that basically this is because Pakistan and Iran have very good relations. And they go out of the way, at least Pakistan does, to make sure that the temperature remains pretty normal between the two countries. Therefore, it's not a border which is closely watched by the Pakistani military. And the fact is that this is not really the first attack. The first attack of its kind using missiles and drones, but Iranian military and border guards have in earlier occasions also attacked people across the border in Pakistan whom they suspect were involved. And they were, in most cases, they are involved in terrorism inside Iran. So I think what Pakistan and Iran are doing at the moment is not kind of protest has been lodged by the Foreign Office. It's being handled diplomatically, and I think it ought to be handled diplomatically. There should be more talks. There should be cooperation to make sure that the tension doesn't rise further, and that there is understanding developed between the two countries, and Iran should have the confidence that Pakistan is not involved in any kind of activity against it at a time when half of the world is attacking Iran or is after Iran.
Or after Iran. Now that's a very interesting perspective. So do you see this conflict escalating beyond, because there's a history of good relations, but this has been an extraordinary, sudden, using missiles and drones and getting into 50 kilometers or so into Pakistani territory. It's not just the border, what India, Pakistan do on their, border villages. This is like well into the territory of Pakistan. So do you think it has a potential to escalate? Because remember, I'm saying this, that it is happening in the context of the Middle East tensions, with Yemen and Iran targeting Syria and Iraq, because before Pakistan it had attacked Syria and northern Iraq as well.
Raza, very good friends of yours, analyzing the situation. Like I was watching, for example, Musharraf Zaidi talking about how revisionist, expansionist Iran is trying to export violence. We may not like the regime, right? But the fact of the matter is that Iran is under a lot of pressure. It is being accused for supporting Hamas and being involved with violence in, what has recently happened in Israel, resulting in retaliation and Gaza. So there's one context is that, but the other is that there is a longer tension between Israel and Iran, which may expand. Now, if it expands, then the risk of tension proliferating into other regions, adjoining regions, in South Asia in particular, and when I say South Asia, it is Pakistan and Afghanistan, which will be where the problem will lie. See, will it enhance? I hope not. And the reason is both Iran and Pakistan will be cautious.
Right.
Let's not forget that after Iran, the largest population of Shias live in Pakistan.
Yes.
And similarly, Iranian Balochistan is predominantly Sunni.
Yeah.
And Deobandi, not just, with a lot of Deobandi influence. So if tension has to escalate, it can really fire up, and there can be greater non-military violence that can happen on both sides.
God forbid.
Yeah, God forbid. And Pakistan has suffered sectarian violence through the 90s, through the 2000s. It's in the last 6-7 years that things have mellowed down, quietened down. So I think both countries can't afford it.
Yes, and the Chinese have also made a very
Yes.
strong statement. They've said, calm down, kids. So do you foresee Chinese playing a role in kind of finding a resolution? Because, see, the problem Ayesha, I do empathize with the Pakistani position. Because if Pakistan lets this go, with India, it's a different ball game. It's a nuclear state, a bigger army, a bigger, stronger country. With Iran, if Pakistan lets go of this incident, does not respond in some way, then obviously it's an open call for anyone to come and do incursions into Pakistani territory. Jaish-e-Adil or no Jaish-e-Adil, that's a secondary issue, because Pakistan also claims that Iran harbors Baloch separatist groups that come and or support certain separatist groups which create violent acts within Pakistani territory. So there are accusations flying around on both sides, and now Iran has also been supporting the Taliban.
Well, Raza, we have another story that you haven't talked about at all, which is Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, you have TTP, but does Pakistan go and attack Kabul? It cannot, because it cannot afford to. So if we can't carry the war into Afghanistan, we cannot, definitely not carry the war into into Iran. And I think at this point in time, what is important is that, expansionist or revisionist, whatever, but I think it's important to very firmly tell Iran that, and especially if we are clean on this, that Pakistani state is not involved, or it does not allow its territory to be used to aid or abet terrorism in Iran. And this messaging is necessary. This conversation, forget about messaging, this conversation is necessary because Middle East conflict is expanding gradually, slowly and gradually. And if it does expand, which is not in Pakistan's interest, then it's important to take an important neighbor, critical neighbor, into confidence and say that, we are very neutral on this.
Right. I think there's definitely immense scope for mediation, and I hope the Chinese play that role, because both countries will listen to China. But I think this is going to be a serious situation.
Because China can play a role, because nobody else really is talking to Iran.
West.
Right. Iran is the bad boy.
Is the bad boy. Yeah.
So Iran, America is unhappy. America is not going to talk.
Much of Europe is diplomatically not going to talk. Yeah.
Right. So China is the only one which has the capacity. Definitely the capacity. I don't think it's going to intervene in the Middle East issue, but definitely it can intervene on behalf of both its friends, Iran and Pakistan, and make them sit on the table.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ayesha, for joining us, and viewers. We'll be back with this evolving story. It is, of course, a very tense moment in Pakistan, and I'm sure in Tehran too, but certainly no rational person would want this conflict to escalate, turn into a small scale or a large scale war, because that's the last thing Pakistan needs, and I'm sure that's the last thing Iran needs. With that, thank you so much, and see you later.